Hey y'all, today I wanted to talk to you. So this is a video that I've been putting off for a while. I was kind of on a roll for a week and then hit this topic and then kind of just entirely put it down because I didn't know how I wanted to talk about it. At the heart of this message is a deep appreciation for my family. I want to appreciate how far we have all come together. And I'm speaking specifically about my mom and dad, so my most direct family. My larger family is a slightly different conversation, although we're in a lot better of a place than we were when I was younger, too. But I also wanted to frame this video as an exploration of faith and cause and effect, okay? The thing that was tripping me up is I didn't know how to start the video. Do I talk about right now where we're at, or do I talk about where we were and how far we've come? That's a long video if I do it that way, so I'm going to start with where we're at. My mom just sold her apartment or condo of like 15 years. And in looking, she needed a place to stay in between while she's waiting to move into her new home. And my dad just got a divorce, or is in the process of getting a divorce from a relationship of like 10 years. And if y'all are Haitian or you know people who are really traditionalists, divorce is not something that they do, right? We tough it out. We move through or whatever the fuck. Because a failure of a marriage is a failure on your behalf, right? But he put a lot of that stuff aside. He's been working through those feelings, and he's getting the divorce. So now his home is free. So he's living with my mom, or he offered the space to her to rent. So it's not like, she's not just entirely there by herself, or like they're not like living together, right? But they're literally living together, physically living together. And this is so something I've always said my entire life, because it was true, and this is what I was told, and it's from my experiences. My parents never lived together. They could never live together. My mom's biggest story in life has been, I can't live with another adult. I can only live with my children. And at that, she was sometimes pretty aggressive in her living with us. But my mom has a lot of unresolved trauma, a lot of unresolved childhood trauma, emotional trauma. She's dysregulated with her emotions, right? So she has a lot of stuff going on, which is why she would not live with somebody else. And she was actually in this dance, a very... I don't like calling people toxic, right? But a toxic dance with the father of my brother's father. And so that was going back and forth for a long time. She's ending that relationship as she's moving into this space to like have a new fresh start and stuff. And I can tell you that I never for a million years ever dreamed that my parents would be friends to this level where they're talking about healing together. Also, forgot to mention, my dad has been in therapy since 2021, maybe 2021, and he was going twice a week for like 8 months, and he dug really deep, and he said goodbye to a lot of relationships. He's learned a lot about loving himself, he's learned a lot too. I think the most beautiful part about, I don't know his therapist, but what I hear about her, she sounds awesome. She really helps him understand concepts personally and intellectually, right? So like understanding that, because my grandma died when we were maybe like 4 years ago. This summer will be 4 years. And in processing her death with his therapist was talking, because he talked about my grandma's depression and how my grandma was silently suffering for so long, being depressed, not having any tools or support. And everybody around was just like, oh, she's just doing a thing. She's just going through whatever, she's just sad. And he felt really bad because he realized he had also treated her like that, not taking this serious, because now, well, at the time in 2021, he was depressed himself, going through those feelings, and like, just coming to terms with the fact that he feels very deeply, that he's wounded and that he wants to change, and that it can be really hard. He was also at a point where he wasn't talking to his family. They started talking again, which I also played a role in that. It's funny, I don't like to really talk about the role that I play in my family of both bringing people together and, I guess encouraging space to be taken too. But I did play a pretty big role in that. When we went to Haiti in 2021, him and his brother were not talking at all. They had stopped speaking after the funeral. And so I was there with both of them, watching them talk to me. Like, there was one moment where they were both standing in front of me talking to me and not talking to each other. And then there was this whole thing. I left the family group chat, ended up talking to my uncle about a lot of family things, and mentioned stuff with my dad. The next day they were talking again. Good and bad, right? Because my uncle wants to kind of resume the relationship they had, and my dad is ready to not have the same relationship, but he does enjoy talking to his brother, right? But what I'm really proud of now is that he's even drawing boundaries. Like, I'm really grateful to be back in communication with him, right? And we are moving through the things slowly, but also I don't appreciate that he's trying to return to old habits that I'm not comfortable with, and trying to box me back into a box that he wanted me to be in, that fit him better as, I want to say somebody who's people pleasing, somebody who's willing to go out all out for him, and even if he's uncomfortable, even my dad is uncomfortable. So now he's drawing boundaries around not talking to him. So I say all of this because this is not what I grew up with, right? I grew up with pretty dysregulated parents where their boundaries were real. My mom had real weak boundaries. My dad had really firm boundaries that were like immovable. And now it's interesting to see them just flowing a little bit more. My mom developing more boundaries. My dad teaching how to enforce boundaries, but also, I don't know, being more compassionate, and like he feels like I used to feel like he put a boundary down and didn't give a fuck about the results of it, but now it feels like he's putting it down, but he's also thinking about the consequences of that and what he actually wants ultimately, which is all just amazing things. And when I think about my role in all of this, because I want to say everybody's success is their own, right? The healing that has happened for my dad and my mom's also in therapy, and my little brother. My little brother in therapy is a hit and miss. He's not really sharing much in therapy. I think he just needs, I feel like, a very strong adult support that he can trust, and I don't think that he necessarily trusts the people around him, but that's a different conversation too. But my mom's also in therapy, and that's what's been helping her very slow. I think she needs a trauma-informed therapist, because I don't know who she's working with. It doesn't seem like she's necessarily, plugging in exactly what my mom needs, but generally the overtones of healing and for me, again, healing and becoming whole is about being okay with the self, right? About coming back into yourself, right? Welcoming your emotions, listening to your emotions, not being like, oh, I feel a way, let me turn it off or change it or cut it off or do something to it. Let me just experience this emotion, see what it's trying to tell me, and then make a decision from there. With regulation, with control, because I hate using the word control with emotions, because it's not about controlling your emotions, right? But it's about regulation. It's about being able to, recognize that your breath controls your feelings, right? And so, now to my role in all of this. Obviously, I would say I'm the person who spurred their journeys into therapy. It's funny because I think I inspired my father, who had seen how much work I'd done over the past 11 years with therapy. And also he realized, because we had this really big breakdown moment where he was sharing a lot with me, and he realized, oh, I shouldn't be sharing this with my kid. It's great that you're listening, but also I need somebody to help me work through these problems. So he started going to therapy. That actually inspired my mom, who ended up going to therapy too. So I want to recognize myself for that. But the thing I want to talk about in regards to faith is, I don't know. I feel like from when I was young, I was a big family person as a young person. I loved my family. And then I remember it was really heartbreaking when I started to realize these people they're not my tribe, right? They're not my tribe in the way my friends and community are. They don't support me they supported me the ways that they could, right? They would support me financially. They would support me with what they thought was what I needed. But at the time, I didn't even know what I needed, right? So I was going through my own rebellion too, and you don't know me and this and that and all these feelings. But I also, I don't know, when I started to actually connect with people deeply and be like, but these people are nothing like these other people, right? My family is nothing like my chosen family. My family, my real family seems to condone a lot of fuck shit that my chosen family would be like, that's messed up, Gary. It wasn't until I met my chosen family, my friends, the people that I really welcome in my life, that I was like, oh, a lot of things I'm telling them about my childhood. Oh, this shit is dysfunctional. Oh, this shit is harmful, actually. Oh, and people be like, how did you feel about that? Oh, I never really thought about how I felt about it. It was just a story that I told, And so when I talk about faith, and I talk about it in regards to my family, I'm talking a lot about, I don't know, this belief that things could be different. This belief that things could be different, they have to be different, and I'm not fucking with what is here. Like, I can accept everybody for where they're at. I appreciate it. But I went through a period of entire removal. I took myself away from my family. Yeah, it was really sad. It was a very alone time. I felt orphaned. I orphaned myself almost because I felt like these folks don't support me. We're not actually kindred spirits. So, but I don't know, underneath all of that, there was this very deep belief that things can be better, right? Whatever's going on now is just not lit. Like, and I can't continue to participate in it to try to make it better or be better from the inside out. Like, I just had to separate from them entirely. And this is not my approach nowadays. I don't think we always necessarily need to separate and cut off, right? And block people and stuff like that. But it was really, really, really helpful for me to feel my own energy away from my family. I was defined so much by my family's values and experience and all this stuff. And I don't know, I guess I'm still figuring out what I mean when I talk about faith. I've called it the je ne sais quoi, which is French for I don't know what, of survival. This like, I don't know how I'm going to make it through, but being able to be on the other side saying that. That's, I feel like, faith, right? Because I didn't think, like I said, I gave up a lot of hope and a lot of expectations and dreams about my family, but I kept faith, I felt that ultimately we would do better as a stronger unit. We would do better as a unit that supports each other, that is in each other's corner, that loves each other, that helps each other out, teaches each other, holds each other. And it's just really, really beautiful and powerful to see that coming about now. Just my dad offering space to my mom, offering a listening ear, my mom being willing to open up to my dad about her relationship stuff that she's going through, because she's going through a pretty challenging space with that man, my brother's dad. And so it's just really cool. And I'm really proud of them for the amount of effort that they've put into it, and the faith that they've put, I want to say that they've put in me too. They've been witnessing my journey. It took them a while to believe what the fuck was going on. They were just like, they always thought I was just a black sheep, the random one, just doing random stuff. But I'm grateful to see that they've seen the fruits in my healing and deemed it worthy their efforts, right? They're like, oh, I want to not even just because Gary seems to be chilling, but what Gary says makes sense. It resonates. There's a part of me that feels called to this, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So yeah, just feeling really grateful for that. And finally just want to get this video out the way. I might redo it at some point, but this is my raw appreciation for my family.